Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. I am so excited you're joining us today because honestly, we're about to unlock a seriously fascinating and just incredibly dramatic ancient text. We're diving deep into a rare piece of apocryphal literature. You know, the kind of suppressed, hidden away stuff that was literally lost for centuries? It's called the Second Apocalypse of James. And look, this is not just some dry, dusty historical document. It's a profound, intense narrative packed with radical philosophy, high ancient tension, and honestly, an explosive climax. We're going to break down exactly what this text says, the specific worldview it pushes, and the absolutely tragic sequence of events it records. So, let's just get right into it.
So, here's the central mystery we're unraveling today. How is it possible that a crowd listening in total awe turned into a murderous mob in an instant? The text gives us a super jarring contrast. Like, 1 minute you have an audience completely captivated, hanging on every word with absolute wonder. And then, flash forward just a bit, and that exact same crowd is transformed into a violently angry mob intent on executing the speaker right then and there. I mean, what specific words could trigger that kind of massive reversal? What ideas were so dangerous that they demanded an immediate, lethal response?
Okay, let's dive into this. The narrative here escalates at just a breakneck pace. We're talking minute 1 sitting on the 5th step, minute 10 preaching the revelation, minute 15 the crowd turns furious, and by minute 20 the stoning begins. This is definitely not some slow-burning disagreement, right? From the moment James takes his seat to the brutal stoning, the whole sequence is incredibly rapid and completely unstoppable. The text creates this profound sense of urgency, moving from a peaceful, attentive gathering to just brutal violence in what feels like mere moments.
Part 1. The Revelation of James the Just.
To really wrap our heads around this rapid escalation, we first need to establish our setting and look at the first act of our narrative. We're looking at a speech delivered in Jerusalem by James the Just, who the text identifies as the brother of Jesus Christ. And he's delivering this radical revelation. Now, the text claims to be a record written down by a priest named Miriam, who's passing this account along to a relative named Theudas. But here's the crucial part. Miriam is actively warning Theudas to hurry up, explicitly noting that the crowd is already agitated by James's teachings. So even before James begins the specific speech, the text is telling us there's this heavy underlying tension already brewing in the background. The fuse is literally already lit. And the text gives us this brilliant, super subtle detail to set the scene. It says, instead he sat on the 5th step, which is highly valued. James walks in, but he doesn't just sit in his usual spot. In the ancient world, physical positioning meant absolutely everything. By taking this highly esteemed seat, James is signaling to everyone there, and really to us as the readers, that he is about to drop something of immense radical importance. It's a physical claim to ultimate authority before he even utters a single word.
Part 2. The Radical Teaching of Indestructibility.
Let's see how this builds into the core philosophical message that James starts preaching from that 5th step. Because what he says next fundamentally upends everything his audience understands about life, death, and, well, reality itself. He kicks things off by claiming he's received a revelation from the Pleroma. Now, in the context of ancient Gnostic texts like this one, the Pleroma isn't just some physical place. It's the ultimate, divine fullness of indestructibility. It represents an eternal, spiritual reality that exists way, way above and beyond our flawed physical universe. So, by claiming his knowledge comes straight from the Pleroma, James is basically telling the crowd that his message completely supersedes any earthly authority or physical laws. That is an incredibly heavy claim to make.
James then outlines the journey of the Lord, describing a very specific, kind of mysterious sequence of events. First, he says this divine figure passed down through the cosmic worlds, stripping away his glory to actually enter the physical realm. Second, he came in human form, as a son and as a brother. And third, and this is key, James states that this figure will be killed, but his true divine nature will remain entirely unrecognized by the ignorant masses. The physical world, according to this teaching, is completely blind to true spiritual reality.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how James speaks for the divine figure with these beautiful but deeply paradoxical statements. I am the one who was killed, but did not die, and I am the one who was buried, but did not remain in the grave. This right here is the absolute core of the teaching of indestructibility. The text is essentially arguing that sure, the physical body can be destroyed, but the true spiritual self, it's utterly immune to death. It completely challenges the physical reality the crowd believes in, basically treating physical death as nothing more than an illusion.
Part 3. The Crowd's Wrath and Condemnation.
Up until this point, remember, the crowd has been listening in absolute awe. But this brings us to the real turning point of our explainer, the moment where high spiritual philosophy violently clashes with the physical audience in Jerusalem. I want you to think about this for a second.
Why did these words provoke such wrath? Why this sudden, drastic shift? James was just speaking in these poetic, theological terms about divine realms and indestructibility. So what was it about these specific concepts that provoked such an immediate, visceral anger from the people listening? What actually sparked the mob?
Well, the text gives us the exact exchange that pushes them right over the edge. The crowd demands to know, "Who are you, James?" And James doesn't just claim relation to the Lord. No, he claims absolute, exclusive spiritual superiority. He answers that he is the brother of the Lord, the one who saw the revelation that no one else saw. This claim of exclusive hidden knowledge basically implies that the crowd is spiritually blind and ignorant, and that completely shatters their awe. It's this arrogant-sounding claim to ultimate exclusionary truth that instantly ignites their fury.
And the text immediately sets up this brilliant contrast between the two reactions. On one side, the crowd raged and wanted to kill him. We have the sheer chaos of the physical world erupting into murderous anger. But then, on the other side, James is totally serene. He tells his followers, "Do not fear, my redemption is near." The text is highlighting this massive foundational duality here. The worldly crowd is completely driven by dark, chaotic emotion, while the enlightened speaker remains totally fearless, staring death right in the face.
Part 4. The Martyrdom and Return to Light.
This brings us into the final, tragic act of the narrative. The tension we've been tracking from the very beginning reaches its violent climax, and the events described here are brutal. The angry mob seizes James, they drag him to the stairs, and they start pelting him with stones. But the author makes a highly specific, very crucial note. James made no noise of pain. Instead, as the stones are hitting him, he raises his hands to heaven in prayer. This is a deliberate narrative choice. The text is showing us that James has completely detached from his physical body. Just like he preached earlier, his physical form is being destroyed, sure, but his true self is completely untouched by the agony. Now, to fully grasp his final prayer, we need a quick analytical pause to define a key term he uses, the archons. In this ancient worldview, archons aren't earthly politicians or anything like that. They are these powerful, cosmic entities, essentially the ignorant and oppressive rulers of the physical realm who trap spiritual light inside physical bodies. So when James prays for salvation as he's being stoned, he isn't praying against the crowd. He's actually praying against the cosmic archons who rule the physical realm that the crowd represents. And man, that adds some immense cosmic stakes to his final moments.
This brilliantly illustrates the ultimate worldview of the entire text, perfectly captured in James's final prayer. He contrasts the divine light and fullness of the pleroma with his own physical body of darkness and pain. This is the ultimate duality, right here. The whole drama is really about pure, indestructible spirit finally trying to escape a corrupted, painful, physical vessel.
Even as the stones are falling, the ancient text gives James this incredibly beautiful, highly poetic language. He cries out, "O thou above all names and forms, speaking through silence." It's this desperate plea to a God that is so vast, so transcendent, that it exists completely beyond human language and physical form, communicating only through absolute silence. It's just a stunning contrast to the loud, chaotic noise of the murderous mob surrounding him.
He finishes his prayer with this powerful climax. "Save me from the power of these archons and deliver me from this body of darkness and pain." So, the absolutely crucial point here is that the text does not frame his execution as a tragic defeat. Not at all. To James, and to the author of this text, the stoning is actually his moment of triumph. It is literally the exact mechanism that shatters the physical trap and liberates his spirit from the darkness of the material world.
The narrative then wraps up with a final supernatural intervention. An angel appears directly to James and says, "James, your time is fulfilled." James utters his final words, "Lord, receive my soul," and dies, ending the speech. His physical body perishes, ending his earthly presence, but it perfectly finalizes his return to that eternal, indestructible realm he had literally just been preaching about to the awestruck crowd. The journey is totally complete. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a lingering question to think about. The second apocalypse of James is an ancient text, for sure, but it highlights a pattern we see over and over again in history. Why do radical spiritual ideas that fundamentally challenge physical authority and claim exclusive truth, so often meet with worldly violence? It's a really profound question about the timeless clash between radical ideas and earthly authority, and it's one that this ancient apocryphal drama captures just perfectly. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today, and keep questioning.